Let's get into this week's vocabulary review, focusing on the topic of theme. Getting right into that, we'll look at our 10 words and definitions for this week. Word number 1 is going to be topic. 2 will be detail. 3 will be theme. 4 will be central idea. 5 will be summary. 6 will be article. 7 will be instruction manual. 8 will be encyclopedia. 9 will be thesis. 10 will be informative. Let's go ahead and look at those really quickly. Our first word is topic, and the definition for topic is what the story, passage, or other text is about. Topic is very different from theme, and the reason topic is different is because it is the subject on which an author has written. It's a little bit more specific. It's a little bit smaller than what theme is. Whereas theme can be really big concepts, topics are more just singular statements. So the topic of writing could be the author's writing about war, or the author is writing about the concept of love. Whereas theme usually is going to be a little bit more complex, as in war does not solve problems or war solves problems. You get the idea, and you'll get it a lot more whenever we actually get into the difference between topic and when we look at theme. Keep in mind that it is just simply what the story, passage, or text is about. Looking at word number 2, we have detail. Details are specific added information to help enhance the reader's understanding about something. If you look at the little graphic over here, it's talking about how good writers add details to make the story come to life. You might see this when we look more at imagery and other vocabulary conversations, but details are just the little things that make writing more easier to understand or easier to get into. Term number 3 is theme. Theme is the author's message. It's their underlying message about life or human nature that the writer wants the reader to understand. Ultimately, writers, especially of stories, want you to pull something from their stories, usually something deeper, usually something that they don't just come right out and say. In this graphic up here at the top, it says that theme is the author's message. It's the universal lesson or the big idea from their writing. Theme usually is going to be like a life lesson, a deeper meaning, a moral or a message about life or human nature that's communicated in the work. A theme is what the story ultimately teaches you or what you pull from it. It's not the same as a topic, which we talked about earlier, which is just the focus of it. Theme is that deeper learning message you get. Vocabulary term number 4 is central idea. Central idea is the main idea of writing. It's the point the author wants you to remember most. Keep in mind that central idea comes up when we're talking about nonfiction. Theme is usually going to come up when we're talking about fiction or stories, whereas central idea is going to be more so on passages and informative writing. Nonfiction works. Now, theme can also cross over, but keep in mind that central idea is mostly going to be nonfiction. So some examples of themes could be that hard work pays off. It's okay to be different. Money doesn't buy happiness. The central idea tells what the story is about. So one sentence, just, this is it. Kayla spent hours on her project and she got an A. Jack and Jill were totally opposites, but they were both excellent kids. You get the idea. These are more just stating what's coming, what you're getting from it. Let's move forward with number 5. Summary. A summary is a retelling of the most important parts of what was read. Keep in mind the most important. So let's say that you read a really long story and the teacher wants you to write a summary of, maybe a chapter or something like that. You're not going to write pages and pages. You're going to write something more like a summary paragraph. You're going to give the most important parts of it. So if it's over a story, you might tell me about the characters, the setting, most important information that the reader needs to know what's going on. If it's more like informative writing, then you may tell me deeper things like what the author is trying to teach you or tell you about it. The main points from the article, avoiding the smaller details. Moving to term number 6, we have article, and we've got an example of an article here on the right. An article is a piece of writing included with other pieces of writing in things like newspapers, magazines, or other publications. Of course, like this example, these are mostly going to be seen digitally today. If you opened up like a news website or you opened up some sort of like other informative text, you're likely to get a lot of articles. You may use articles later on in school to do research and to help you find more information about things. Articles are important because they are usually backed up by a lot of information, research, data, statistics, and can usually be trusted, although you definitely want to check the sources on that. Term number 7 is an instruction manual. An instruction manual is a written informational piece about how to use a technical device, or explains how to operate something or to install something or to put something together. The graphic over here giving the example of somebody putting a paper airplane together step by step would be an example of an instruction manual. Moving right along to number 8. An encyclopedia is a book or set of books giving information on many subjects or on many aspects of one subject, and typically arranged alphabetically. Now, encyclopedias are not used quite as commonly in school as they used to be. Here is an example of an older set of Encyclopedia Britannica books stacked up, probably alphabetically in order, so that if you wanted to look up something, you could specifically pull out one of those and look it up alphabetically in that set. Encyclopedias are non-fiction texts, giving information about something you need to know in the world. Number 9 is thesis. We've got a lot of terms that kind of have very similar vibes to them, but have different meanings. So start trying to differentiate and pull these apart. A thesis or thesis statement is the primary position taken by a writer or speaker. You look at this a lot more deeply whenever you look at things like argumentative writing. The thesis statement is the central point or main idea of an essay. It is one of the main ways an essay is unified. Just kind of keep in mind that a thesis is the purpose of the essay. If there is no thesis, whether that thesis is stated or unstated, there is no essay. If you're asked by a teacher to write an essay about a topic, you need to have some sort of thesis or underlying purpose to what you're writing, or else everything kind of falls apart. Keep in mind that thesis is different from some of the earlier things we talked about, but it does tie into things like main idea that you need to keep in mind and begin to remember. And our last word for this list is informative, or keeping it in mind for things like informative writing or informative essays. Informative writing is just providing or conveying information. If you read something that is informative, you're reading it to learn something or to learn how to do something. Examples given as an informative essay over here, but we don't really need to go that deep into it today. Just keep in mind that if writing is informative, it is meant to inform you or to teach you or for you to learn something from that writing. Now, those were our 10 words and definitions for this week. Keep those in mind, write those down, and answer any questions that come up for you in class. Thank you for paying attention to this week's vocabulary, and I'll see you next week.